Good morning, everybody. On this rather I think it's the first proper autumnal feeling day, hence the scarf. I can see that people are joining us, but numbers of people have stopped joining, so if you see what I mean. I'm sure some more will join, but so I think we'll make a start. Really pleased to be with you this morning to talk to you about AI. I think which you will probably gather fairly quickly. This is not my area of expertise, and I'm well and truly out of my comfort zone, as I'm sure many of our audience also are. So AI, it's evolving rapidly and is emerging as a transformative force in today's technological world. It's enhancing decision-making processes and revolutionizes industries. It's clear that the technology is here to stay. So the following wording, because obviously I did a quick Google because I know next to nothing myself, the following wording is from a government report on international AI safety. The capabilities of general purpose AI have increased rapidly in recent years and have improved in recent months. A few years ago, the best large language models, LLMs, could rarely produce a coherent paragraph of text. Today, general purpose AI can write computer programs, generate custom photorealistic images, and engage in extended open-ended conversations. The capabilities of advanced AI have continued to grow. We know that this technology, if developed and utilised safely and responsibly, offers extraordinary opportunities to grow our economies, modernise our public services, and improve lives for our people. To seize these opportunities, it is imperative that we deepen our collective understanding of how AI can be developed safely. So now back to my words, but it also comes with challenges. Limited knowledge is one of the critical issues impacting the adoption of AI. Misconceptions are commonplace. We need to be educated and made more aware of AI processes and their uses, which is why we're holding this webinar today. I'm really pleased. We've got a panel of 3 speakers, and I know that Alan is full of questions, and I've also got some questions from the floor as well. So first up is Michelle Pontes from Human Driven AI CIC, and she's going to be talking, I think, with some case studies, how people can get started and the pitfalls to avoid. Michelle, please.
Okay, let's see if I can share my screen properly here now. Share screen, trying to share the audio as well.
Yeah, that's looking good. Yeah.
So I actually saw the headline for today on the post you guys put on LinkedIn about creativity plus AI equals the future. But I'd like to add something to that. Creativity and AI only work if people lead. So I run the Human Driven AI CIC, and what that means in simple terms is that we put people first. We treat imagination and lived experience and values as the starting point, and AI comes afterwards. AI is the support that helps us with those ideas. Now, I could stand here and explain the framework for the next 15 minutes, but I'd rather show you. I'm going to play a short film. It's a mix of imagery, video, and voice. And just to say, the film itself is part of the story. Every image you'll see is AI. The animation is also AI. The voiceover is also AI. And the script itself was supported by AI, but the direction, the choices, the framing, the story, that was all me. So as you're watching, you will see the possibilities. I will now play the video.
Most people think this is where AI starts, with a prompt box. But if all we do is type random words into a machine, we'll only ever get random answers back. The real starting point is human imagination.
That's why we use the Human-Driven AI framework. Discover, define, develop, deliver.
What do we want to see? Why does it matter? How will it be used? That's the human part. AI comes later, as a tool to bring those ideas into form.
In Discover, we explore possibilities. AI gives us a sketch, but the idea, the metaphor of resilience, came from us.
Define is where we sharpen direction. The AI shows us variation, but we make the creative choice about tone, style, and intent.
In Develop, we push deeper. AI becomes a collaborator, letting us explore angles and layers we might not have imagined yet.
And Deliver is where it leaves the prompt box and enters the world. A campaign visual, a poster, a pitch. Something people can use, not just admire. This is why human-driven AI matters. When we keep people first, AI stops being a gimmick and becomes a public tool. It lets small businesses compete with bigger players. It gives communities new ways to tell their stories. It allows us to design, plan, and imagine faster, without losing the human touch. That's the real impact. A cafe can tell its community who it is. An artist can explore metaphors of resilience. A school can bring abstract concepts to life for children.
At Human-Driven AI, this is what we care about. How ideas turn into stories, and how stories shape the world around us.
AI is only powerful when it carries human imagination and values into places they haven't reached before.
Human-Driven AI is more than a framework, it's a movement.
A call to put imagination and values before automation. To make humans first as standard. Join us and be part of shaping a future where technology tells real human stories.
So I think that's the difference. Not AI as a machine spitting out all these answers, but AI as part of a human-led process. And I want to break down all the stuff you have seen now through three lenses. And it's very quick here. It's design, storytelling, and content creation. If you think about design, AI helps us explore possibilities. It can generate sketches in seconds, but the decision about tone, about color, about meaning, that stays human. And that's how your content can be really, really different from everybody else. In terms of storytelling, you can start with an idea and then you iterate and refine it and you start creating a story. AI shouldn't be in control of the narrative because AI, it doesn't create anything new. It gathers all the stuff that is already there. It's our direction that turns pixels into meaning. Content creation, it's the last phase. This is where it leaves the prompt box. A mock-up becomes a campaign, an idea becomes a poster, a visual becomes a tool that you can actually use. That is the deliver part of the 4Ds, the point where, you know, all your thinking is going out to your public. And why does this matter? Because when people hear AI and creativity, they often think of it as either a threat or it is something easy. But I actually see it as a possibility. And that's why we say in HDAI that it is a movement. It's not just a framework or a studio where you create stuff. It's a call to set a new standard, to make humans first in an age where everyone is trying to do very, very, very quickly. And movements aren't built by just one person. They are built by people who share, you know, that the belief is human first. So, you know, how do we get there? We get there by learning the tools, the methods, and the frameworks. We have created the HDAI Studio, which is an online studio with over 2,000 resources to help you actually learn how to do all of this. And now I'm going to give you a very quick a demo of the studio. It's very short, but I can send a fuller version after. There's a second here. Okay.
When you log into the Human-Driven AI Studio, this is what you see, the main dashboard. The Get Started section gives you an overview of what's inside and how to navigate. The studio isn't about giving you one button that does everything. It's about giving you frameworks, examples and resources you can adapt to your own creative direction. That's really important. It's not about replacing people, it's about supporting them. So, inside the Midjourney studio, the first thing you will see is the image prompt library. Here we have organized a wide range of prompt examples for different types of imagery, everything from photography styles to illustration styles. What's useful here is that we show you two approaches side by side. One prompt is written for Midjourney, which is a diffusion model. That means it has its own technical parameters, and the way you phrase prompts can be quite precise if you want really high quality results. Underneath that, you will find the ChatGPT version of the same prompt. ChatGPT is a large language model, and when you ask it to create an image, it passes your request through to its built-in generator, which is the DALL-E. That makes it more conversational. You can write in natural sentences and still produce something. You know, it's very interesting to compare both and experiment with both. So for each type of image, say a product lifestyle shot, you'll see a Midjourney prompt and directly beneath a ChatGPT prompt. The idea is to test both and see how differently the two AIs respond to exactly the same creative request. So now we go back to the main dashboard. Now let's step into the ChatGPT studio, and just like a Midjourney, you start with the dashboard. I will show you the three main areas. The first one is ChatGPT Essentials. This is where you'll get the basics, simple steps to quickly learn the essential functions so you're confident using ChatGPT straight away. Then you have Prompt Hacks. This is one of my favorites because it's really practical, where you learn small but really powerful tricks you can apply instantly to create more authentic conversations with ChatGPT. And then there's Prompt Like a Pro. I'll click in here. This is a really important one because it's where you'll find the ChatGPT prompt library. It's set up in a similar style to Midjourney. You'll see a number of topics, and underneath each one there's a drop down showing the prompt, some further instructions, and then the example output. So if we were to prompt about marketing a strategy, you'll see the prompt ready to copy and paste. The instructions will show you exactly where to replace the details. And then there's an example output, so you know exactly what to expect. Every single prompt here follows the human-driven AI framework, which is the 4Ds: discover, define, develop, deliver. So you're not just pasting text blindly, you are working with a clear structure, and it's almost like a conversation. And this library is huge, and it's constantly being updated as the AI evolves. We revise and refine the prompts just to keep everything updated, and the studio evolves alongside the technology. Let's go back to the main dashboard. We are back at the main dashboard where we have Business Toolkit. I'm not going to go into it. This section is for people who want to use AI to actually monetize their skills and ideas with AI. And what you'll find here is a very practical set of resources, from defining a niche for your AI offering, to creating an AI brand toolkit, to pricing your services, and much, much more. And because this area is always evolving, we regularly add new toolkits as we go. So it's definitely one to come back to because there's always something fresh here. Now let's head into the download room. This is where you'll find all your creative files in one place: guides, templates, image pack, prompt kits, and more. What's really great about this space is that it's constantly updated. For example, the director's handbook. This is a visual direction guide for anyone who wants to create AI-generated images with more intention, of course. Then you've got tone mapping. It's a guide that shows you how to explore and define tone across campaigns. You've got the mood board method. It's another one of my favorites. It's a practical tutorial that helps you define visual language for your project. And then you'll also find the visual vocabulary, Midjourney version 7 visual systems, and so on. It's a really incredible library, and the point is you don't just get files to download, you get tools that help you shape your own creative process. And finally, let's look at the masterclasses. At the moment we have 3 available: how to build a portfolio, creating portraits, and storytelling. These are really hands-on. You can take them in your own time, and each one comes with examples you can follow and exercises to experiment with. We add a new masterclass every month, so this collection is growing. It's a great resource for anyone who wants to keep experimenting and learning and building their own creative practice. So that's the HDAI Studio, a resource space with almost 2,000 ways to learn, test and create with AI. It's part of the work we are doing at Human Driven AI CIC, keeping people first in the age of AI. You will also see the Folio 5 name here. That's the creative AI agency I run in parallel with the CIC. Folio 5 is the team that builds and delivers platforms like this, developed in partnership with the Human Driven AI. Both the CIC and the agency bring the vision and the practice together. And of course, I haven't shown you everything today. The studio holds much more than what you've just seen. If you'd like a deeper demo, just get in touch with me. I'll be happy to guide you through and show you the full range of what's inside. I want to leave you with this. A human-driven AI is a standard to make humans first. If you believe creativity, imagination, and human stories should lead the future of technology, then this is your invitation. Join us and let's build it together. Thank you.
Okay, so before we finish, I know my time is up now. Let me quickly share what's happening next. We run a free AI session every Tuesday and Thursday at the Digital Dock in Brentford. These are drop-ins. People come in with any questions they have, and we brainstorm together. If we can help, we do. We're also starting AI jam sessions in the evenings. These are playful, collaborative sessions for storytelling. A chance to jam with AI the same way people jam with music. And we're now working towards a flagship event focused on AI and creativity. We want as many people as possible to be part of it. And of course, as we are a CIC, our aim is to keep offering free lessons and sessions, but we can only do it if we have sponsors. If you wanted to sponsor us or sponsor a team or a group or even a town that we can deliver training and teach them how to use these tools, just send me an email and I'll be very happy to collaborate. Thank you very much. That was me for today.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I know we said we'd take questions at the end, but I had a question, and also Rod has got a question as well, the same question. So basically, what's the ownership of an AI generated image or piece of content? Who owns it? Is it royalty free?
It's royalty at the moment, yes. In the UK, it's royalty free. Yes, okay. At the moment it is.
So it can be used as part of a marketing campaign.
You can use as part of a marketing campaign, 100%. I use it for all my campaigns.
Super. Thank you for that. Yeah. Right. Thank you so much. If you could stop screen sharing, that would be great. Thank you. Right. Next, we have Clwyd Probert from Whitehat Inbound Marketing Agency, who's talking about using AI for deep research. I think I'm right.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. Yep.
Fantastic. Okay. Deep research sounds a bit scary. And what I wanted to do today is to take a little bit of a business focus around AI, because one of the things that really jumps out at me is how it's underutilized in the business community. So just a little bit of a background. My name's Clwyd Probert. I'm the CEO and founder of Whitehat, and we've recently launched Helium 42, which is a consultancy and training organization around AI. I've got 20 years of experience, worked in New York. I'm a guest lecturer at UCL's business school, teaching digital marketing to their MSc entrepreneur students. So I do have a little bit of a background in all of this. And we also run training courses, which are free. These are online courses. There's an intro to AI for marketers, which we run monthly. And everybody is very welcome to that. But that's entirely my pitch. You're not going to hear any more products or hard sells from me. I think one of the things I wanted to do is to be a little pragmatic today, to sort of give some kind of indication of what people are missing out, what they could be doing with AI. And people say that humans use only 10% of their brain. I'm not entirely sure that that's true, but they certainly use less than 10% of the AI capabilities that are in front of them. What we are seeing is that 95% of usage in something like ChatGPT, and I will focus on ChatGPT because it's the main product that people are using in a business situation, is repetition. They have a habit, they use it for one particular thing, and they just do that same thing again and again. Nothing wrong with that. If you find something that's good, then stick with it. But what we would recommend is that you expand that usage. 30% really should be on iteration, which is taking that prompt, taking that thing that works and seeing if you can make it better. Ask the AI to provide a better answer, an improved answer, have a conversation with it. And 10% should be on experimentation. It really should be about, now I'm a bit of a geek with this, so I'll give you an example, is pretty much everything that comes onto my desk as a task. What goes through my mind is, how could I use AI in this situation to help me get this done better, faster, quicker, cheaper? Sometimes the answer is it can't, and you just carry on doing what you're doing. But if you ask that question and you experiment, then you can get some fantastic results. And what I want to do at the moment is just bring out one example of that. And there's something called deep research. When I've done polls in the past and asked people, I'm only getting about 1 or 2% who've even heard of this. And it's quite crazy because it's a feature that's been out a little while now, both in ChatGPT, in Google Gemini, and in the other chatbots. And what is it? It's an automated research analyst. It can do deep research for you. It can go off and look at multiple different sources, and it can produce expert research briefs. The process itself is not instant. It can take up to 30 minutes to do that research, which could be a negative, but it's also, if you have to look at it from the positive side, it is going deep into a topic. Now, I do apologize if this presentation is a little text heavy. It's the very nature of what we're talking about today. So no flashy pictures of cartoon cats, but really we're just going to look at business situations. So I took an example, and just to kick this off, the screen that you can see there, the ChatGPT 5 window. If you log into ChatGPT 5 and you say, how do I get the research? You hit a / and you get a drop-down little menu. And you just choose deep research as one of those options. Most people do not know it's even there. And it's a super powerful feature that I'm actually going to walk through with you right now. So here's the particular example. I was trying to think of something that people might be interested in that we could actually do as a research example. And what you don't really have to memorize or to read all of this, but essentially what I wanted to do was to create a research piece that looked at the impact of AI on jobs. Now, everybody's worried about jobs. You know, is my job going to go? Is it going to impact me? What is the situation today with real data? I'm not interested in opinion pieces of some science fiction future. What are the statistics that exist within current data sets at the moment? And that's a particularly poignant question to be asking for this business group. But think about this in terms of the prompt. This isn't a Google prompt where you type 2 or 3 words and get a list back. This is a thought through process that you might give to a research assistant. This prompt is 3 paragraphs long. It could be 3 pages long. It's something that you could give to Deloitte as a consultant to work on this for you. And they would go away, and 2 months later, they'd come back with a report. Now, wouldn't it be nice as a small business to be able to get that quality research done for you effectively for free? And that's kind of where deep research is at the moment. So create a detailed research report, business leadership audience, analyzing which jobs are most and least susceptible to disruption. Now, just as a standard case, I threw this into Google. And what actually came back is what you would expect. You'd have a paragraph of what is now called an AI overview, and you'd have a massive list of links, for example, to Forbes Research, Newsweek, McKinsey, all of the usual suspects. And you as a researcher would have to go through all of this. You would have to read those links. You'd have to figure out what is relevant and what is not. So that is completely useless from a small business perspective. Thank you very much, Google. That is why people are saying that Google is now becoming a legacy system, and it is being replaced by things like ChatGPT, who can essentially answer business relevant questions for you in an intelligent way. So what's stage 2 is ChatGPT without deep research. And this is quite interesting because it's a really good answer. So ChatGPT does now have the ability to do a web search, and most people would get this type of answer coming back, and it's really good. There's nothing wrong with this at all, but it is still at a reasonably high level. It took 1 minute, 18 seconds to actually run this report. It's pulled back. Essentially, most of this information is coming from its internal memory, what it's scanned and learnt as its core knowledge. And then it's gone off and pulled a couple of websites to bring some statistics back. This is absolutely fine for a quick view of a subject. There's nothing wrong with this at all. If you want some quick answers to something, then this is why ChatGPT effectively is a much better answer than Google itself. But there's another level. We can actually take this even further, right? So version 3 is we turn on the deep research. And the first thing that you will notice after I've given this prompt is it doesn't start the research. It asks me a question. In fact, it's asked me 3 questions, qualifying questions about this research. And this is really, really useful because that helps it dive deep into what I'm actually wanting as a business user from this system. And it's saying, okay, you've asked me this question, great piece of research. What geographic focus would you like me to look at? And I've told it I want to look at the US. What time frame in terms of the statistics should I be looking at? And I've told it I only want to look at the next 2 years, essentially ever since GPT was released. Is there a sector that we're particularly interested in? Maybe I'm interested in small businesses in West London in the Shepherd's Bush area, or maybe I'm looking at a global impact, and I've told it to go global, looking at the US and the UK. And output format, how do I want this? And different AIs can give us different formats. Some of them can produce PDFs. I'll give you an example of what the Clwyd Anthropic system can produce later in terms of illustrations. But that's really useful. And I've told it to produce essentially something that would be produced by a senior consulting firm such as Deloitte. So having all of that in its mind, it's going to give me a better response. And what actually then happens, I can't do this in real time because it literally took 35 minutes for this to run, right? So it will go off and it will read. In this case, it had got up to 24 different sources, but I've seen the system look at hundreds of different websites over that time period. And the point is that it reads all of these websites. It goes up to the latest information. It pulls back the statistics. and it collates all of that, and it goes through multiple iterations. It doesn't think and give you an immediate answer. It puts a plan together, executes that plan, looks at the results, and modifies it based on what it's seeing, which is what an actual analyst, a researcher working for you would do. Understood, I'll create a consultant-style research report focused on the recent data, so it's confirming back what I've actually asked it. And this is what I get back. This report, I've just pasted into Microsoft Word. I've pasted it in there without any reformatting. This is as it was produced by the system. So it's set up headings, subheadings. It's done an executive summary at the start. It's broken that down into the different sections that I've asked. And it's also, which is really important because people talk about these systems, these AI systems hallucinating and making up data. It's given you reference links that you can check. So I'm not saying this is 100% correct, and it might very well have errors in it. And you have to be cognizant of that. You have to be aware of that. But it is very, very good. And you can use those references and you can cross-check it. You can paste this into Word. You can paste it into a Google Doc. But it is significantly valuable for a small business. I will give you one small other example of something that we ran. Now, this wasn't produced by ChatGPT. This was produced by another chatbot from Anthropic called Clwyd, which nobody seems to have knows about, but it's really one of my favorites. It's very similar to ChatGPT, similar pricing and everything else. It has some strengths, one of which is it's very good if you're into technology, into coding, but it also is really good at producing illustrations and graphs based on the data. So this is a practical example. One of our sales team asked for some research on a prospect that they were meeting in the afternoon, and they wanted to know the market. They wanted to know more about this company. And this report took me about 30 minutes to produce for that salesperson. It's done a SWOT analysis. It's done a product and service analysis. And you can see at the end, there's a massive number of references and links. The quality of this is stunning. It is incredible, and it is available pretty much to every small business at a trivial or free price. And people do not know about it, and they're not aware of it. And this is what I say when people are only using 10% of the capabilities of the AI. And this is only going to get better. So that's kind of where we are. I'm not going to ramble on for too long. I do tend to go off down rabbit holes if you let me in terms of AI. But in terms of an assessment of this particular tool, it can do hours or days of research for you in minutes. The output is very solid, but it does need verification. Don't take whatever it says as absolute truth. It asks qualifying questions, which really allows you to get a built-out research plan. Negatives, you do need to do verification on this. It is dependent on the sources. So just because it finds something on the web, it doesn't necessarily mean, as we all know, that it's true. We've got to take it with a pinch of salt. But the pricing it's included in ChatGPT and the other systems. You have 5 users per month on the free plan. On the pro plan, it's 25, and on the plus plan, it's 25. On the pro, it's 250. So that's kind of deep research. If you want to get in touch with me, that's my contact details. And that's kind of my presentation on deep research from ChatGPT. Hopefully that was valuable.
Thank you so much. I'm a bit I'm just thinking in my head, wow. I'm thinking of myself. I always think of myself. You know, when you sign something, you get the terms and conditions. You very rarely bother to read them. I'm just thinking, knowing me, I probably wouldn't have time to cross-reference, and I think that is where I would go wrong.
Absolutely,
so you can't just take it as gospel.
Yeah, you can also use it for personal use. You know, you can do If you're trying to buy something, whether it's you know, a healthcare product or anything else, you can ask it to go off and do the research, find the reviews, find the critical analysis, and do a table of top 10 products, and it will do it for you. It's very, very powerful.
So no longer using the witch guides.
There you
Okay.
go.
A very quick question
Go for it.
About this. This comes from Anthony Coyle Dowling. He's been using a free version of ChatGPT. What difference can I expect with the paid version, V5?
Sure. In terms of the deep research, they're effectively the same. The difference is the number of research runs that you can have. So the free version, I think, gives you 5. The paid gives you more, maybe 20 or something like that. And then there's a pro version, which is like £200 a month, $200 a month, and that gives you hundreds of researches. The problem is with something like this is that it's addictive. Once you run one, you get to the feel of the power of it, and you start using it all the time. We're running these every day on multiple different things. So I would say $20 a month is a trivial spend for a business, considering the value you get from not just deep research, but ChatGPT itself.
Lovely. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Clwyd.
You're very welcome.
That was fascinating.
Yeah.
Right. Our next speaker is Tom Goodwin from PPC Gameplan. Tom, over to you, please.
Hi, everybody. Good to be here and good to be talking about such an interesting topic. I'm just going to share my slides. So today I'm finishing off today's presentations with a case study that a client we've been working with called YouGov. YouGov are best known as a pollster. You might see them do a lot of work, especially around elections. And I wanted to talk about how we were working with them in the age of ChatGPT and AI to improve their visibility in commercial search. So in a nutshell, as we've just heard, like ChatGPT's ability to research is fantastic these days, and it is replacing search. So for a huge swathe of the B2B search market, ChatGPT is now the tool of choice. So it's exploded into the mainstream. And you've also got Google responding to that. So you have 2 parts of Google's search index which are worth mentioning. Google AI Overviews, which is the bit of information you see at the top of the traditional search. And then you have Google AI Mode, which you might have played around with. It's been in the UK now for about half a year. And this is effectively Google's version of ChatGPT. And they're both relevant to talk about from an SEO perspective or a search marketing perspective. On the right-hand side, you can see a typical search that we would be wanting to appear for YouGov. Thankfully, we are now appearing for it, but we weren't appearing in this table for ChatGPT before we did this work. So I'm going to talk you through a little bit about how that works. I will keep it fairly swift, but please do reach out on the chat or follow up if you have particular questions relevant to your business too. First of all, why does it matter that we appear in these AI tools? In effect, this is very similar to when search engines were introduced and companies like the Yellow Pages were suddenly disruptive. We have new gatekeepers of information. So when you're a consumer, whether you're a B2B or a B2C, you're now looking at a different tool for product and service recommendations. There's also limited visibility in the space. So typically what happens is that tools like ChatGPT will reference a wide body of material and then synthesize and summarize. So one of the stats is that ChatGPT averages about 2 brands per query. Google AI Overview is a little bit more, in part because they have a big advertising platform behind them. But that will change potentially in the future as ChatGPT adds as well. In short, it's very much the same importance of appearing first. So I think most people know the value of your business appearing first on Google. Having your business appear when someone's querying a large language model is also very important. And also, as well as appearing, you need to make sure that it appears for the right information. YouGov had this problem. So a bit of background, YouGov started in 2000. They really pioneered a new way of doing market research, which was online polling with a continuous panel. So they actually now have 26 million panel members across the world. They're a publicly listed company, so very large, and they've got 3,000 employees. So They've really grown in that time. But what we found was that although they have an amazing range of clients, including much of the Fortune listed companies, nimble competitors like Attest were actually appearing above them in ChatGPT. And this was for some of their core products like brand tracking. So what we set out to do was to basically solve that problem. The fundamentals of YouGov are phenomenal, actually. They're one of the most cited companies in the world for public relations. So you'll always see YouGov surveys being cited in the news. But what was happening here was that the LLMs weren't fully accessing all the information. They weren't understanding it, partly because it wasn't marked up perfectly, and also partly because of that winner takes all aspect. So actually, when you have nimble competitors attacking your core market, you need to be responsive on the AI tool because that's where a lot of the market is shifting to. Our goal was to make YouGov definitive for two key products: brand tracking, which is when a large company wants to understand if people have positive associations about their brand or negative associations, if they've heard of them, prompted awareness. And also custom surveys, which is when someone wants to commission a survey to find out some information. So you might do this if you're a smaller business, and you might spend a few £100s with YouGov to get the insights that you need to write a press release, for example. So how do we go about improving what they were doing with AI? Well, the first is really to follow on from that last presentation, looking at the prompts and optimizing for those prompts. So we actually looked at our ICP is like a CMO or like a senior decision maker in a large business, or for example, a university researcher would be another person that YouGov would want to reach. And we basically itemized a series of queries and put them into ChatGPT. What do you know about YouGov? Who are the best market researchers? And we kept on querying to find out where the gaps in the knowledge were. So even if someone was ranked above us, we would say, why are you ranking Attest above YouGov in this specific instance? And because these models of computer programs, they will actually tell you the reasons why, whether that's ChatGPT or Google's Gemini, which is important for Google's inventory. You can physically say, why aren't you not ranking my business and you're ranking my competitor instead? And it will try to understand why it's missed you from the list, if that makes sense. Once you've got that missing information, you then need to go and fill the gaps. So in our case, we were embedded with YouGov from March this year, and actually we found that they were overlooking a lot of the information. So case studies was one thing they were overlooking, in part because we didn't have them prominently displayed on the website. We didn't have kind of the key facts that would strengthen the positioning that are relevant for these models. They weren't displayed and public on the website either. So what we then had to do was identify that information and then go and update it. And typically for any business, that will involve about us pages. So pages that talk about your business, the origin story, the narrative arc, the key details, and frequently asked questions. And this kind of content really is the most heavily cited by the large language learning models. So it's very important to make sure that these particular pages are very, very strong, and then hopefully you can get that information picked up. We also looked at shifting the tone of what YouGov did to make it a little bit more conversational and also to make it more responsive to trends. So this is a good example where you might have seen the press coverage around Sydney Sweeney's ad for American Eagle. And we were able to do a quick straw poll of 1,000 respondents to work out how the American public, based on political voting patterns and age and ethnicity, whether they think that the ad is appropriate or not. And this became quite important for actually promoting a business question relating to brand tracking, because actually the share price of American Eagle jeans jumped quite a lot off the back of this ad. So it had a business angle attached to it. Why that's important is because the factors you can see on the left-hand side there, the factors that make your brand visible in AI SEO, a lot of it is related to how much someone's mentioning you online, all the different branding factors at the top there, and then also your traditional SEO factors as well. So that's the number of websites that are linking to you, how fast your site loads, all these different factors. And the third thing that I'd really advise any business to really consider, if you have an agency that you work with, definitely ask them this question off the back of this presentation. Have a look at how your website is marked up with schema. So schema was actually something that originated a couple of years ago and was important from an SEO perspective. It's allowing Google to have richer data about your site. Now, large language learning models actually quite heavily reference the schema rather than the content of your site when pulling information and returning it into the query. So one of the things that we did with YouGov was we looked at how they marked up all of their press content, all of their research content, and we helped them better understand how it should be marked up for schema. We ensured that all those key facts that the models reference were included. So we looked at the information architecture. Specifically, we were looking at the most important factors when comparing two businesses. Now, this is something that you'll see a lot of businesses will do a comparison page now. So if you have let's say you have a software business, you might have two main competitors, and you might build pages that say your software versus that competitor, your software versus that competitor. Well, this is actually really important as well, because what we found was that we had a really strong data set of reasons why people weren't choosing YouGov and choosing a competitor, and we could use that to basically identify which information needed to be more publicly available. And then also, as I mentioned, make it readable for machines. This is strange because for many years now, you might have heard in SEO circles that you should always write for humans and not for Google. Well, that's kind of changing a little bit in the sense that, yes, we still need to write in human language, but actually a lot of the time we need to make sure that information is accessible to the AI systems that are gatekeeping that information for the humans. So making sure that that the markup is good, making sure that the language is very straightforward, easy to understand, is another really important thing to do for any business. It's so simple in some cases that even just referring to yourself as the leading business in your core concept and using that phrase leading business can be hugely important when AI tool is recommending the best business in London for this, or the top businesses in your field. It can be literally that simple at the moment. And the results. This is something that was quite interesting for me personally. So as a business, it was the business that I've worked with that has the highest percentage of share of traffic from ChatGPT. So we had 22% of our search traffic into the business website for YouGov after completing this exercise, which took about 3 months. We got to this figure where actually 1 in 5 visitors to that business site were now originating from ChatGPT. That's 5 times what you'd expect typically. So typically at the moment, you'd expect maybe 1 in 20. It's still a relatively small amount of traffic compared to Google if you have a lot of Google organic traffic. But why YouGov is leading here is because the audience is typically a B2B audience. And for B2B businesses, if you think about how you yourself use ChatGPT, if you run a business, you own a business, it's actually the power users of these large language learning models are typically business decision makers. So this is really interesting to see. Walmart as a retailer in the States have a similar level of traffic coming from these large language learning models. So although it is the future and it's coming pretty quickly, it's also the present for a lot of these businesses. And it can be the present also, regardless of whether you're a large enterprise or just a small local business. It can be a huge important part of your business. So do have a look at it. So just a quick recap about creating content that's conversational. Again, focus on those FAQs and About Us pages. Think about how natural conversations about your brand or business would happen. Credibility signals, so awards, client testimonials, Google reviews, Reddit conversations. Actually, Reddit is the most cited of all of the ChatGPT sources, even more cited than Wikipedia. So that's a great place to start. get involved in those conversations that people are having about your business. That's something also that YouGov needed to do, despite being a very established business. They needed to start thinking about how people are talking about them in these kind of spaces. Definitely look at the structure for AI success, and I would start by looking at schema, because that's one of the fastest ways to ensure that these models are coming back with information that you want people to say about your brand. That's actually where they go first before content in many cases. And then monitor and optimize. So treat this as part of your marketing plan generally, part of your dashboard of what you're monitoring on a day-to-day. I think it's an important part of the present and very much somewhere that the future is heading towards. So thank you for your time. Hopefully I haven't run over too much. If you want any more information at all about AI search specifically, reach out to me. So I run a consultancy called PPC Gameplan. We have the email team@ppcgameplan.com, and we also offer free audits for businesses. So if you need more information about how your business can thrive, just reach out and let me know.
Thank you very much indeed. There are some questions, quite detailed questions in the chat box, which people are answering, and there's some for you, Tom, I think, and also Clwyd as well, I think, and Michelle. So people are asking questions. I've just got one very quick question from the guests. Could everybody turn their cameras on? Because we'd quite like to do a quick screenshot, so I can put it on my LinkedIn post.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, everybody. That would be really good.
So yes, one quick question was from Liesel, who I know has been having conversations in the chat box with Michelle. It was about AI clauses in contracts. Do you need to cover this? Who wants to have a go at that? Michelle, is that one for you?
It's still a very grey area. I don't think anyone is policing that at the moment. People, there are many campaigns now with AI generated images and videos as well. So you can, and I was just writing about that. I think the whole idea is that if you generate an image, you don't just use that image you have generated, you add something to it. And you log that process of how you came about that very final image. It started with a generated image, and then the final image you use is something that you have actually added some layers to it. Again, it's still a gray area. Some people are minting the images through NFTs. To be honest with you, I'm not sure if they are 100%, if it's protected 100% at the moment. But at the moment, it's the workaround I'm seeing people using.
Thank you. And then somebody else actually put in, and this is a bit more basic, but this is more sort of my level. What sort of top recommendations do you have for the type of AI for note writer, calendar sorting and reminders, etc.? What would you recommend?
I can take that one.
Yeah, go for it, Tom.
So I think ChatGPT is a bit of a Swiss Army knife as a go-to. I really like a tool called Fixer AI, which has been developed by two brothers who used to run an agency of virtual assistants in London, and they've taken that kind of executive assistant expertise and turned it into a tool that will attach to your email inbox and help you respond to emails with a single click, and also has some additional features to organize. So definitely check out Fixer AI. And yeah, it's a fast-moving space. So if you're ever in doubt, then maybe check ChatGPT to see the list.
The other thing I would add to that is you're seeing AI everywhere in all of the applications that you use. So if you're using Microsoft Office, for example, you will have Copilot built in there. It used to be completely rubbish. It has got a lot better as they've improved it and improved ChatGPT in version 5. So for example, you can go to Copilot and you can ask it about your calendar. You can ask it detailed questions about your email, and it will scan off and do those type of things. I mean, we're a HubSpot partner, and as HubSpot as a marketing automation and sales tool, have launched a massive number of AI agents that automate a lot of business processes. So AI is just becoming the operating system that sits under everything that we do. So it's no longer one tool that does this. It's just AI is turbocharging all the traditional tools that we use, and there's a whole load of new ones coming on. It's confusing and moving fast, I think, is the summary to all of that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Alan, do you want to, yes, do you want to ask a few questions, please?
Yes, at the end of the presentations, you normally hand over to me to ask the questions. So thank you.
Well, I just had some from the people who are
So
actually here.
I would like to thank all of the speakers very much for doing such wonderful presentations. And I'd like to thank Sally for putting together such a good group of speakers to talk about an interesting subject. My question, Sally, is to you. At the very beginning, you talked about misconceptions and trust issues. How do you feel now at the end of these presentations?
A bit bamboozled, to be honest. There's an awful lot for me to take on. I'm a pen and paper person. You were talking, Michelle, in the green room, as I like to call it, about how you've got your office all sorted. Well, my storage space is on the floor on my landing. It's a bit of a nightmare. I do think we need to embrace it more, and I need to be dragged kicking and screaming to do that. It does take me a bit of time, and I think I'm beginning to realize I've got to do it.
So that then takes people into training.
Yes.
Quite nicely, which is my next question. Michelle, I see you're doing training just round the corner from where Sally lives at the digital dock.
I actually saw Sally a few times crossing the road.
No, crossing the road to come in or crossing the road
No,
to
crossing
go
the
away?
road to run away from it.
So now you know, Sally, where Michelle is.
Yes, no, I've made a note. But, yeah, I really need the
Lunch
basics.
and learn is a
Yep.
really good concept. And perhaps we can throw our weight behind what Michelle is doing. What sort of take-up do you have in there, Michelle?
Well, it's very early stages, but we do have a lot of interest. We were in a small event a couple of weeks ago in Brentford as well, a community social event. And I was actually really surprised because I had all this nice food around me, and I thought, I'm talking about AI, no one is going to stop here. And suddenly everyone was very, very interested. And yes, now we have our clinics, as we call it now, are starting to get really busy. So watch this space.
Okay, so if we advertise it a bit, you can get a few more people in.
Yes, absolutely.
You can get some guest speakers in as well. And I'm looking at our other speakers here today. And then if we start to get some volume of people coming through the door, the next question is getting people to pay a little bit for it. Two ways of paying is local authorities get UK SPF funding for business training. Has anybody tried applying for any of that?
I haven't yet, but it's on my list. I mean, as you know, being a CIC, we are able to tap on so many different grants funding. So I do have a large list, of institutions, organizations that I am applying for funding. And that's the point, is to bring AI literacy to the community, to the, people that don't really have these fancy jobs and access to all these fancy tools, but really want to use AI. So we're trying to close that AI exclusion gap and make sure everyone is on board.
And are you also finding this, the other speakers, Tom? Good.
We don't tend to go after the funding, but I know a lot of businesses do find that a quite useful route. I think in general, like the more training you can do, the better it is. Like for all of your staff, like it's a great way to get out there and meet the community as well. So I'd be more than happy to get involved with that.
Yeah, and from our perspective, I mean, we take training in two different ways. We run free online courses. So we do that sort of every month, really just the basics of AI, which most people, as we've seen today, really don't know about. You can cover a massive amount, get some really value. But we also do full-on training at organizations. So we'll take them through the process of setting up an AI council, looking at policies and procedures. There was questions in the chat about how do we prevent these AI systems training on the data. We can talk about that. We can talk about proprietary data, HIPAA compliance. There's so many things to cover, but that gets really deep once you start working with organizations. We can do both.
I've just spotted another congratulations to Sally, by the way. Sally's wondering why, what's going on? Your webinars don't normally attract more than 20 people.
Yeah, no, the
A
numbers are
record
really
number
good.
at this. That is a really big reflection of the popularity of the subject.
Yeah.
And an inclination as to the level of learning that's required.
And also looking at the amount of chat in the chat box, the amount of questions.
My quick question to you, Michelle, is the models that you had in your video, how many of them are AI generated and how many of them are real people?
They're all AI generated, and the first video, the voiceovers are AI generated, and the videos were AI, edited and rendered. That everything was AI. So and as you saw, it was a mix of images and videos because I wanted to show the possibilities.
And that's interesting how AI thinks that we feel that we should look at images of human faces.
It is very interesting. And you know what? I have experience. I took a photo of myself and I've created a video. And it's really interesting how AI thinks my expressions, my facial expressions were. So the image, the face was my face, but the facial expressions were not mine at all. So it's a very interesting exercise.
So a question for all of you is, how can you give an example of how a small SME company, which mainly our Chamber of Commerce has as members, can use AI in a very practical way? For example, raising invoices that have got a standard annual charge.
Could probably have a go at that. I mean, the invoice one is highly specific. I would say that is something that would come out of the invoicing system that they're using. So if you're looking at something like Xero or Sage, you're seeing automatic AI systems which can nurture and follow up emails. So if there's a late payment, it'll write a better email to prompt that person to pay than the really annoying, oh my God, you're late, I'm going to sue you type thing, which people tend to send off at short notice without thinking. I would say using ChatGPT just like that to create emails, to create or to review your correspondence is really powerful. I've used it in a legal situation many times where it's toned down the voice that I've been using, or it's looked at a legal contract in a lot of depth and it's pulled out nuances that I've missed. So I think there is a real value for small businesses who can use this to hit above their weight. And can really do things that they couldn't in before. They effectively got access to a legal expert who knows UK law, who can read a ton of documentation and can give advice. Again, take it with a pinch of salt. Don't presume that anything it says is true, but having a second opinion, whether it's medical or legal or marketing or sales, is super powerful.
So let me just take you up on a couple of those points. How do you take AI speak, which humans can largely see as being AI written, and turn it into something that looks a lot more like a human has written it?
The answer to that is that it's not a one-stop shop answer that you paste something into ChatGPT and get an answer back. You have to teach it your brand voice. You have to teach it about your tone of voice, how you approach things. And the way you can do that is you build up a system of examples of what is good. So you give it an example of emails that you've sent, letters that you've written, blog posts that you've created, and you say, this is good. This is how I want you to be. And it can then learn. And it is possible to build in ChatGPTs, for example, custom GPTs, where you can give it all of that stuff up front, so you don't have to start from scratch each time. Then there's also systems. I mean, we're literally building something at the moment for small businesses that can do that out of the box, and it picks up your brand voice. But you have to tell it, because otherwise it doesn't know, and you end up with a generic, boring type response that everybody's familiar with.
So for us to use AI and have a voice and tone that's like Sally Smith, that would be possible, would it?
No, we need
beta at the moment.
GPT version 7 for that. I think we're we're 2 years out, but
right. I'll have gone by then.
I'm not sure about that.
It's getting close, and I think using it as I mean, I've literally built a co-CEO, which I've given all of my financial information, my background information, the company team information, and I use it as an advisor for the business. And that is super powerful, and people can do that.
So my last question before I hand back to Sally, noting that it's 11:07, is what type of take-up has AI had in the last 2 to 3 years since it was launched and started to be more out there, especially with SMEs, which is what our Chamber of Commerce business is? And what can we do to try and get that take up increased?
I'll give a statistic and then I'll shut up because I'm dominating this. 75, and this was a Microsoft study, I think 75% of people are using an AI chatbot in a business context. And similarly, a mirror of that, 75 to 80% of businesses have no policies in place around that usage. So there's a mismatch between people bringing their own chatbots in and using it and not telling anybody. And there's issues around compliance, around data, around training and everything else. That's a really deep rabbit hole to go down, but it is being used heavily, but it's not being managed and rolled out and trained properly. I think that's the issue.
Yeah, I think there's a comparable period in history with the internet, like in the mid-90s, when Jeff Bezos was, deciding to build the everything store, and just looking at the data of uptake of the internet. We had this period when you had huge fortunes made, but you also had the dot-com boom and bust. And in that period, like we tackled problems like, how can I be sure that my credit card information won't get stolen online? It'll take a little while for things to catch up, but it's definitely just based on the investor interest and based on how the consumers are changing. If you've got kind of like young kids, you'll see that they now use ChatGPT quite happily to complete all their homework. And that's a fact. Like academics are struggling with that too. So the technology is moving really, really quickly. The human adoption, both like for businesses and consumers, is always going to be a little bit lagged. But it's definitely the direction of travel. So we should all be aware of it.
And I think, as Tom said, I think the challenge here is we have been given all these amazing tools, but not really taught how to use them. So I know a lot of people who are using AI all the time as a search engine only, as Google, and you can do so many other things with it. But this is what, at least around me, I find everyone just using AI as Google. So I think there is that learning curve there, and I think the gap is really there. It's the learning.
Back to you, Sally. Any questions in the chat?
I think most things have been answered, which is great. If they've not, please do let me know and I'll introduce you via email and what have you. The recording of this webinar will be on our YouTube channel, and Lisa's usually ever so quick at putting them up. So probably by this afternoon, it'll be up there for all to see. I'm just going to end. I want to thank you all for your time this morning. As I say, the amount of interesting questions in the chat box and the number of people, I think, shows it's a topic we need to carry on exploring. We are going to be having an AI session at our Ealing Festival of Business on the 16th of October, led by Peter McKenna from WSI. And then I suddenly thought, in my introduction, I talked about how AI can help with extended, open-ended conversations. And somebody mentioned to me the other day, this is a really useful tool for people with dementia, My lovely mother had dementia, and on the 5th time of her asking me the same question, that was when I'd say, "Gotta go now, Mum. Love you dearly. Gotta go." I think AI could have absolutely helped that, because it doesn't get bored, it doesn't get angry, it doesn't get frustrated. So on that thought, yeah, it's an interesting one, and we need to explore and embrace more. So thank you very much for your time this morning, to everybody on the panel, and also all the guests. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.